CICU devices.
Impella CP and Impella 5.5, the console screens. For more insights on Impella device, we invite you to visit our Impella Guide playlist on the CICU Devices channel. The console of the Impella CP, also referred as Automated Impella Controller, is a central component that enables the safe and effective operation of the device. It acts as the interface between the clinician and the microaxial pump, serving as the command center for monitoring, adjusting, and optimizing hemodynamic support. In this video, we'll explore the different monitoring screens available on the Impella console and learn how to interpret the information they provide. Understanding the different monitoring screens is essential for the safe and effective management of this mechanical circulatory support. Each screen is designed to highlight specific aspects of pump function, system status, and patient physiology, allowing clinicians to rapidly identify changes and respond appropriately. The placement screen is the first monitoring screen displayed by the Impella console when a new case is initiated. It is also the primary screen used throughout most of the support period, as it provides a comprehensive overview of the key parameters required to assess both device performance and patient status at a glance. This screen is specifically designed to help clinicians confirm correct pump positioning and continuously monitor the quality of circulatory support. It displays essential information such as the selected performance level, estimated pump flow, motor current waveform, purge system status, aortic pressure, and, when available, left ventricular pressure measurements obtained through the Smart Assist technology. A systematic description of the placement screen includes the following key elements. In the upper left corner of the placement screen, the console displays the Impella catheter model currently in use, such as Impella CP or Impella CP with Smart Assist. Immediately to its right, the catheter serial number is displayed, allowing the device to be uniquely identified and ensuring traceability throughout the procedure and patient support. The same section also displays the current date and time, together with the Automated Impella Controller serial number and the software version installed on the console. Although these parameters are not routinely used for clinical decision-making, they are important for device identification, troubleshooting, technical support, and documentation. In the upper right corner, the console displays the battery status, including both the remaining battery percentage and a graphical battery level indicator. This allows the clinical team to continuously monitor the available battery capacity, particularly during patient transport or temporary disconnection from the mains power supply. When the console is connected to AC power, a power plug icon is also displayed, confirming that the controller is operating from the electrical supply while simultaneously charging the internal battery. Immediately below the device identification area is the alarm window, where the console displays active alarms and system notifications. This section is designed to promptly alert the clinical team to conditions that may affect patient safety or device performance. The alarm window can display up to 3 alarms simultaneously, arranged in order of priority from top to bottom. Each alarm consists of a color-coded header on the left and a detailed description on the right. The header color reflects the severity of the event. Red indicates a critical alarm requiring immediate intervention. Yellow represents a serious alarm. White identifies an advisory notification. And gray indicates that the alarm condition has been resolved. Alongside the alarm header, the console displays up to 3 lines of explanatory text, providing information about the alarm condition and recommended actions to help the clinician resolve the issue. This allows operators to rapidly recognize the nature of the problem and respond appropriately without leaving the main monitoring screen. In the central section of the placement screen, the console displays the patient's pressure waveforms in real time. At the top of this area, the aortic pressure waveform is shown in red, representing the pressure measured by the catheter's integrated fiber optic pressure sensor. When using Impella with Smart Assist, the console also displays the estimated left ventricular pressure waveform in white, which is derived from the aortic pressure signal and motor current analysis. To the right of the waveforms, the console continuously displays the corresponding numerical values. For the aortic pressure, the systolic, diastolic, and mean arterial pressures are shown in real time. For the estimated left ventricular pressure, the maximum and minimum values are displayed, providing valuable information about pump position and helping clinicians recognize potential suction events during Impella support. In the lower portion of the central monitoring area, the console displays the motor current waveform in green, providing a real-time representation of the electrical current required to drive the Impella motor. This waveform is one of the most valuable parameters for assessing pump performance and verifying correct catheter position. To the right of the waveform, the console displays the maximum, minimum, and mean motor current values in real time. Careful interpretation of the motor current waveform and its numerical values can provide important information about pump position, changes in ventricular loading conditions, and the presence of abnormal events such as suction, catheter malposition, or, in more advanced cases, pump thrombosis. For this reason, the motor current waveform should always be interpreted together with the pressure waveforms and the overall clinical context. The bottom section of the placement screen contains a set of parameters that remain continuously visible across all monitoring screens, ensuring that the most important device and hemodynamic information is always available to the clinician. In the lower left corner, the console displays the maximum, minimum, and mean pump flow values. Next to these measurements, a rotating circular icon indicates that the Impella pump is actively spinning and delivering mechanical circulatory support. Immediately to the right, the console displays the purge flow and purge pressure, two key parameters used to monitor the performance of the purge system. A horizontal animated bar with its inner segment moving from left to right confirms that the purge system is active and functioning properly. Finally, at the far right of this section, the console continuously displays the patient's cardiac output and cardiac power output in real time. To learn more about these concepts, explore our related videos. How the Impella device works. How Impella measures left ventricular pressure. And how Impella Smart Assist works. Along the right-hand margin of the placement screen, the console displays the menu labels, corresponding to the soft buttons located on the controller. These labels remain also consistently visible across all monitoring screens, providing quick access to the console's most frequently used functions. From top to bottom, the available soft button options are Mute Alarm, Flow Control, Display, Purge Menu, and Menu. The currently selected P level is also displayed in this section, providing continuous confirmation of the active pump performance setting. The next relevant screen is the Trends screen. To access this screen, press the Display Soft button and then select Trends screen from the available menu options. First of all, it is advisable to set the time interval to 12 hours in order to obtain a broader view of the hemodynamic trends. This screen displays the trend of key hemodynamic parameters, including mean arterial pressure, estimated left ventricular and diastolic pressure, Impella-provided cardiac output, native cardiac output, and total cardiac output. Unlike the placement screen, which focuses on real-time monitoring, the trend screen provides a graphical view of changes in key parameters over time. This allows clinicians to evaluate hemodynamic trends, assess the patient's response to therapy, and identify gradual changes that may not be readily apparent from instantaneous values alone. The third screen of interest is the Purge Screen. This display allows the user to monitor recent trends in purge flow and purge pressure over the previous hours. It is also advisable in this screen to set the display to a 12-hour interval to facilitate a more comprehensive assessment of these parameters over time. The upper graph displays the trend in purge flow, while the lower graph shows the trend in purge pressure. Together, these parameters provide valuable insight into the integrity and performance of the purge circuit. Careful review of the purge screen can help identify important events, such as purge fluid bag replacement, kinking of the purge tubing, purge system leaks, or progressive changes suggestive of thrombosis. To learn more about this issue, we invite you to watch our related video, The Purge System. The following screen of importance is the Purge Infusion History screen. This screen provides a detailed hourly history of the purge solution infusion, including data on total volume infused, milligrams of dextrose, international units of heparin, and milliequivalents of bicarbonate. This information is essential for evaluating the composition and delivery of the purge solution over time. Finally, the console includes the home screen, which displays a graphical representation of the heart and the Impella device. However, this screen has limited clinical utility and does not provide important monitoring or operational information. In addition to the monitoring screens, the Alarm History screen is another valuable feature of the Impella console. Unlike the previous monitoring displays, it is not directly accessible through the display menu. To access it, press the Menu soft button and then select Alarm History. The Alarm History screen provides a chronological record of all alarms and notifications that have occurred since the start of the current case. This information is presented in a table format, making it easy to review previous events and correlate them with changes in the patient's clinical status or device performance. The left column displays the Impella catheter serial number, followed by the date and time at which each alarm was generated. The right-hand column displays the alarm header, allowing clinicians to quickly identify the type of event that occurred. Reviewing the alarm history can be particularly useful for troubleshooting intermittent problems, reconstructing the sequence of events during patient support, and documenting significant alarms for clinical review.
If you've enjoyed our video, please press the like button and subscribe to support us so we can continue creating quality content like this.